Hello and welcome to Sports Today at 5 at 5. I hope you can hear me today. Yesterday, a lot of you were getting at me because you couldn't hear me. Some of you put out memes saying how I was looking. I was looking like a complete fool, wasn't I? Because you couldn't hear me and I was talking. It had happened to me in the past also, in a different context. In an American class at the University of Chicago to my students, what happened was I was talking to them constantly about cricket. About half an hour into the class, some people put their hand up and I said, what happened? And they said, what are you talking about? What is this cricket? Can you explain the rules to us? And I was completely bombed. I was like, okay. And the class went haywire. Thankfully, yesterday, 5 at 5 did not go haywire. First things first, very important. Once again, Mohammad Siraj abused at the Gabba. Yes, it was a minor incident in terms of it wasn't rampant, but he was abused, called grub. He was called a bloody grub. Now, what does that mean? I've spoken to multiple people, and over the last 10 minutes, I've been able to identify it. It's a slang for an unattractive person, is what I'm told by people in the know. Pretty common in Australia, slang for an unattractive person. Is it a racist abuse? We don't know yet. So let's not claim it was racism, but he was absolutely abused at the Gabba. Why on earth would some idiots in that crowd try to spoil it for the rest of the 12,500 people who are supporting Mohammad Siraj and enjoying a good game of cricket? Our question is, why was this drunken fool not picked up by the collar, nabbed by the security, and thrown out? Because yet again, people will say this is racist. This is a disgrace on the Gabba crowd and on the security officials. My friend Rajul, who will be on the show from Fans India, sent me a photograph where two security guards were standing right in front of Mohammad Siraj. You can hear it from him also. But for this one person, or maybe a couple of people, once again, the Australian sporting venue was disgraced. Racist? You can still argue that, but unattractive person, slang for an unattractive person, bloody grab, and bloody, of course, is a racist term. Of course, is a racist term. So, in that sense, yet again, a blot on the series because of this abuse. Number two, Navdeep Saini's update. From what we know, Navdeep Saini's scan results are awaited. The team hopes that it is a mild strain, and if it is, the physio will get him ready. But if the scan results are adverse, then one more person down, one more bowler down. So they expect that it might be a mild strain. And if that happens, as I said, the physio will get Navdeep ready for tomorrow. But if they don't, then we know that the result is adverse, which means Navdeep too is out of this test match and the series. We will keep you updated on Sports Today. Number three, an absolutely new look Indian side. Last night I tweeted interesting selections. This morning, if you see, that's what happened. Washington, Sundar for Ravi Ashwin. We've continuously said Jasprit Bumrah will not play. We were the ones who broke the news, and the whole world knows it. Several news agencies challenged us, saying a half fit player will play. With due respect, a half fit player never plays an international match, because if you are playing an half fit player, what are you sending out for the other players in the team like Shardul Thakur? Are they not good as your half fit player? Are you trying to show them in poor light? It doesn't happen. So, with due respect to them, just hold your horses a little bit. But you know what? Such mistakes happen because everyone is wanting to support India. So what I understand where the news agency was coming from, they also are supporting India. So are we, but maybe a little bit more discretion should be exercised. Number four, and it's again very important. If you take a look at T Natarajan, you will know that dreams do come true. David Warner told me this story, that when the Hyderabad Sunrisers team went to the UAE, into Dubai for the IPL, Nattu was not supposed to play in the first 11, and I'm putting it on record. Thereafter, the way he bowled at the nets, VVS Lakshman and Muthaiya Muralidharan were the two people who were profoundly impressed with Nattu. And that's when he made the Hyderabad Sunrisers team. And the rest, as they call, is history, because first player who in one series debuted in the T20s, in the one days, and now in test match cricket, picking up 2 wickets. Very important, breaking that partnership. So for T. Natarajan, anything can now be achievable. And the last news point is not the greatest of debut for Arjun Tendulkar, and Mumbai needs to buck up because they were all out yet again for 140 odd. On the other side, importantly again, Kerala chasing down 212 against Delhi to win another one. And this time it's Robbie Uthappa and the rest of the batting that has fired. So Mushtaq Ali Trophy, we are closely following for new talent. Mohammad Azharuddin did not get any, got out for 0 to Ishant Sharma, who's now bowling at full tilt. He will be required for the England series. Last but not the least, I'm not going into details because we all know Indian Challenge ended at the Thailand Open. So we want to see what happens next week. First tournament after a long layoff. So one can give it to them, but they need to pull up their socks, because if they have to qualify for the Olympics, except Sindhu and Satwik Chirag, the rest need to now perform miracles. So that's what we have for you on 5 at 5. Fingers crossed for India for tomorrow morning. We need to make the new ball count. Decent day, given what we had in terms of a depleted attack, but you need a couple of quick wickets to stop Australia from getting to 400. You need to get them out for 350 odd. On that note, I will welcome my colleagues, Rajarshi Gupta and Rajul from Brisbane. He was at the Gabba. We'll ask him the details as to what exactly transpired with Mohammad Siraj, because he was the one who sent me that picture. And from their bay, they were actually continuously cheering for Mohammad Siraj. So before I come to you, Rajul, Rajarshi, to you first. Even if there is one rotten apple, that person can spoil the whole party and give the stadium, the city, and the country a bad name. So security should have nabbed that person when he said bloody grub. Your thoughts?
Absolutely, Boria. Look, this is a high-profile test series, and this is special for so many reasons. Given the situation, given the pandemic, given the quarantine restrictions, Indian players put under the strictest quarantine at the Brisbane hotel. These guys have sacrificed a lot, right? Traveling after the IPL, staying away from family. You have a Rohit Sharma who's left behind a young family to be with the team. This is for what? This is to entertain cricket fans across Australia and India. This is to, ensure that the sport thrives on in these difficult conditions. And India have been superb right through the series. Yes, they lost the first two ODIs, bounced back, T20s, they were phenomenal. And in this test series, it's one of the most iconic test series. Boria, Rajul, a half depleted Indian team fighting every day. They're not just going on the park just to make up the numbers. They're fighting hard. They are at an even keel. The least that they should expect from Australian fans is a little bit more respect. And even if it's just one bad apple, one rotten apple, like you said, Boria, chucked out of the ground, strict action taken.
Okay, Rajul, coming to you. Before I ask you the question, and the floor is yours, let me say that the Indian team is not going to press any charges or complain, because they want to ignore this and focus on the action at hand, and their retort will be on the pitch. That's what the update that we get from the Indian team as far as this incident is concerned. And Rajul, before I come to you, couple of people are asking me, Boria और विक्रांत का झगड़ा हुआ है क्या? अरे भाई, विक्रांत and I are brothers. हम लोग एक साथ घंटी बजाएंगे. This is English, that's Hindi. The day he calls me to Sports Tak, I will jump and go, and he's always welcome on Sports Today. हमारा झगड़ा नहीं होगा भाई. हम लोग विराट कोहली जैसे झगड़ा लगाने का कोशिश मत करो. विराट कोहली, रोहित शर्मा का कुछ नहीं है. वो ड्रेसिंग रूम में इंडिया के लिए खेलता है. हम लोग इंडिया टुडे स्पोर्ट्स तक के लिए खेलते हैं. झगड़ा लगाने का कोशिश करोगे और एक साथ चॉकलेट खाएंगे. विक्रांत का बर्थडे केक भी मेरे लिए आ रहा है, सो मत करो. एंड I have the greatest of respect for him as a journalist, but more importantly, his family to me. Floor to you, Raju.
Just on that note, Boria, I also want to tell everybody they can see me on Sports Today and Sports Tak. So there is no jhagda, nothing. We're all working together to give the latest updates.
And by the way, Rajul will always go to Sports Tak first, because Vikrant has the first right. I've got no problems with that. So for us, it's always hunky dory extra chocolate. Because he's taking Rajul first, he always has to send me one extra chocolate. That's the deal. Now you go for it, Rajul.
Brilliant.
Exactly what transpired in detail, please.
Sure. So, Boria, as you said, one bad apple is basically creating a name for the whole Brisbane crowd. So, I can tell you what I've witnessed. I was in Bay 227 with a few other Indian fans, but majority of people in that bay were Australian fans. And we were cheering for Siraj. Australian fans were cheering for Siraj. And Siraj was very happy with the way he was greeted. Uh, I was very, very surprised the way Australian fans were cheering for Siraj, making him welcome in Brisbane. Certain chants they use, welcome to Brisbane, in a singing way, clapping and cheering for him, asking him to give a wave. And he was very happily giving the wave back to the crowd. And everyone in the stand was cheering back at him. So I saw Siraj and other Indian bowlers very happy fielding at the bay. And as I've shared the pictures with you, there were two security guards dedicated at the boundary line. Whenever Indian bowler was coming there, especially Siraj, they were just there at the closest proximity to Siraj so that they could hear anybody from the crowd doing anything dodgy or abusing him. So they were always there. There was a police from Queensland government, of police personnel in the stand with the fans also there. So I could see Cricket Australia did whatever they could have to give that level of attention to this topic that happened in SCG. And from fans' point of view, from Australian fans' point of view, at least in the stand where I was and two, three stands around me, I could see that everyone was deliberately trying to make Siraj feel welcome. And as I said, they were cheering for him, they were clapping for him, and whenever he was waving back at the crowd, there was always a great cheer back to him. So he was very happy. When I heard about this news, initially I thought maybe it's not true, but then when I saw the video, I could see that it's one or two people using that word. It's absolutely abusing to him. And as you said, Indian team is not going ahead and or putting any issue out of it. And I don't think so. Siraj heard anybody saying that because he was pretty happy throughout the time he was fielding around our bay. So as I said, from my point of view, I could only see Australian crowd cheering him up, making him feel special, making him feel welcome at Brisbane.
Okay. So, Rajarshi, basically, from what Rajul is saying, this wasn't rampant. This was more in the nature of an aberration today rather than what was happening at the SCG. More reason why, if it was an aberration, the security just needs to nab that one person, make a statement out of him, job done. Why was that not done? I mean, that should just be done because you close the matter. From what Rajul is saying, if the rest of the people are celebrating him, terrific, because we need a collective movement to snap out racism of any sort. Rajoshi, thoughts?
Absolutely, Boria. Look, and this is what happened at the SCG, right, on days 3, 4, and 5, or 2, 3, and 4. There was an initial reluctance to act, and then once the players went to the umpires, the senior players got together, action was taken. And let's give credit to Cricket Australia where due. They immediately issued statements, but we wanted more than just mere rhetorics. We on Sports Today demanded action. Action was taken. These guys were thrown out, the abusers. It could have so easily been done in Brisbane, and like from what Raju said, it was just that one rotten apple. Make a statement. Make a statement. It's high time. We're talking about racial abuse. We're talking about personal slander and slangs directed at these cricketers and athletes who invest so much of the time and energy to entertain and to put the sport in the highest perspective. This is, this is not right to see this happening in the middle of a great series. We want more action. We want concrete action, quicker action. Boria, I agree, completely agree with you. It could have been nipped in the bud right then and there.
From what I just know, that two staffers, let me break this, two staffers where the England team is staying in Sri Lanka, two staffers in the team hotel have just tested COVID positive. So does that throw the series in jeopardy? England is supposed to come to India straight after. The test match against Sri Lanka is on. Rajarshi, you take a couple more questions with Rajul while I get you more on this. But what I'm hearing right now is two staffers in the team hotel where England is staying in Sri Lanka have tested COVID positive. I will quickly get you the detail in the next 1 minute while Rajul take a question with Rajarshi. You go ahead with Rajul for a second.
Right. So that as we wait for Boria to confirm and bring us more updates from what happened there, Rajul, if I get back to you, it's you've witnessed cricket matches in Australia. You yourself, you did not travel to Sydney. You wanted to stay back in Brisbane to stay and watch this test match, but you saw what unfolded at SCG. And before the teams moved to Brisbane, there was talk of Tim Payne saying, let's respect the players. If you don't want to respect the players, you have no business being in. It is a little bit of a dampener, though, isn't it? The way things have spiraled out again. Even if it's just one idiot who's done this, Siraj didn't hear it. But is it a dampener in moods and in the mood and spirits? Do you think how do you see that from an Indian fan perspective?
Absolutely. I've been watching cricket here for the last 15 years, and I can tell you when you consume too much alcohol, and at the end of the match, around tea time and later on, you see quite a lot of people doing quite a lot of interesting things, which should not happen in a stadium or any public place. So the good thing out of this whole drama is that Siraj and the other fielders who fielded at the boundary really didn't hear that, and they were happy. They were happy because I witnessed that when they were fielding around our bay. They were very happy. They were interacting back with the crowd. So that's the only positive out of it. In terms of dampening the mood, whether this should be done or not, absolutely not. I can tell you here in Australia, there is a very strong policy against racism. And racism is not something that can easily be taken by any authority, whether it's Cricket Australia, Queensland government, federal government, or any other government body. Even private institutes, they have a very strong policy against racism. And this will be taken care of absolutely. As you said, Cricket Australia can come out with a statement there that this is just an isolated case. I've heard it. I think somewhere, or I've read it somewhere, that those people who were involved in this particular incident were pretty much identified by Cricket Australia. I'm not sure what action were taken. I'll try to reach out to Cricket Australia to get you that update sometime tomorrow. But these such activities should not happen at any public venue, whether it's a cricket ground, outside in public. It should not happen. One point I want to raise here: cricket is very much followed here in Australia, very similar to India. It's a summer sport. A lot of people follow it. Kids play it from school level all the way to the grade level. A lot of people have respect for cricket, for cricketers, and what I witnessed in Brisbane today, where majority of Australian fans were deliberately trying to make Siraj feel welcomed. That shows, that reflects that people were concerned that whatever happened in Sydney is not a true reflection of all Australian fans. Majority of fans do the right thing. They watch the game, they support their team, they respect the opponents as well. And all these isolated case or incident should be controlled. And I think I'm expecting that if it happens tomorrow, people around them, Australian fans, would probably stop them, would probably ask them not to do it or ask them to leave. That's what we really want to see, so that these incidents are stopped exactly over there. Why do we need security personnel or police presence to stop these kind of abusive activities? People around them should be able to just stop them, because it's not
Okay.
ethical, it's not good,
Okay.
it should not be done.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. The update from Sri Lanka is it's a good update. Thankfully, England team feel their biosafety protocols are perfectly fine. Their compliance is perfectly fine. So series goes on. Moeen Ali isolating
Good.
in a different hotel, 12th day. Fingers crossed for Moeen as quickly as possible. He should also be testing negative. Should be back with the English team as of now, as on date. Absolutely fine. So proper protocols in place in Sri Lanka. So that's the update. The other update that I want to give you, is what Rajul just said. After our show, Krishna Kumar or KK has now been on Fox, has been on Channel 9, has been on doing a show with Wisden, and he's on CNN tomorrow. So after Sports Today put the details out, that's now a global story. And why are we happy about it? Because the more consensus on this issue, the more collective strength we can build across the world. As Rajul said, it is a collective movement. We don't need security to come and do it. People should do it, because it's a people driven movement to make the sporting sphere racism free. So after KK appeared on Sports Today and the show went viral, we are now seeing serious action, serious activity in Australia. So that's what we are seeing. Uh, Rajarshi, are you hopeful? Are you hopeful from what we were just told by Rajul, that there was a serious effort on the part of the Gabba crowd, the Brisbane crowd, to make the Indians feel at ease, and they are actually ashamed or concerned about what happened at the Sydney Cricket Ground?
Definitely, it is heartening to see that from what Rajul said. The fact that the Aussie fans were also cheering on, the larger section of the Aussie fans were cheering on. Probably it was a lesson learned at what happened at SCG. The five people who were evicted, and that is where your question also becomes more pertinent, Boria, of immediate action being taken. And it's not about action only; it's about consciousness, it's about public awareness, it's also about respecting the players for what they're doing. At the end of the day, it is a game, right? It is a sport where we all want to enjoy. I want to see India win. An Australian fan would want to see Australia win. It's all good at the end of the day, as long as there is respect. So from what Rajul said, very heartening and very happy to hear what transpired at the Gabba, apart from this
Okay,
strange incident.
last couple of minutes, Rajul, how many of you guys have added, except Pujara and Rahane? Can you tell me the tally of the 9 Indian players? How many they've played?
You're talking about the new team?
Yeah, today's team, the 9 boys, except Pujara and Rahane. How many test matches have they played between them?
Oh,
Any idea?
collectively? No,
Collectively.
I'm not sure. It's pretty less. I know the bowlers. I think it's about 4 test matches
No,
in
that's the
total.
that's the bowling unit. That's the bowling unit. I'm saying all 9 together. So Rajarshi, all 9 together, except a Pujara and a Rahane, have played less test matches than Nathan Lyon. That's what we have on the park. So 9 Indians versus Nathan Lyon. That's what we've got on the park. But Rajarshi, before I close the show, I want your thoughts. If someone told T. Natarajan when he went to Australia, buddy, you are playing T20s, you're playing ODIs, you're playing Test match cricket, what would you think? What would he think?
Boria, when I was
By the way, his child could not have been a bigger lucky charm for T. Natarajan.
absolutely, completely agree. Boria, before I wanted to become a cricket journalist, when I was a 10 or 11-year-old boy, I wanted to, like a lot of boys at that age, wanted to play cricket for India. And then, that is what you would start thinking at that age. Go to Australia someday, play all formats, play the ODIs, test matches, and, coming out of nowhere, right? I mean, he wasn't officially part of the squad. He stayed on after the shorter formats to help us on as a net bowler, and he wasn't even in the reckoning for the shorter formats. He came in once Varun Chakravarti was ruled out with an injury before the team left for Australia. So this is like a dream come true, and this is what storytellers like yourself, Boria, and me, we like to talk about, right? This is a story for the ages. This will stay on forever, and the kind of spell that he bowled today to just take those 2 quick wickets, absolutely
Okay.
magical.
A lot of questions have come about why so many injuries to Indians and why not to the Australians. One of the reasons that I have been told, and it's an important reason, I've consulted multiple sports science specialists, sports medicine specialists, medical people, is that during the lockdown, and Rajul, correct me if I'm wrong, even when y'all had some form of lockdown in Australia, were the players allowed to do some kind of walking in the park? Did you all have walk times and stuff, that you all had access to parks and step out and do some form of physical activity? I'm told they did. I'm also told that Indians at no point in time, and I mean, obviously we know this, for 6 to 7 months we were in strict hard lockdown. As a result, what transpired was, during lockdown, the conditioning that they required for red ball cricket, which is continuous conditioning, did not happen. When they went to the IPL 4 overs, you can still get away with it, 4 overs 2020. But for red ball cricket, the kind of conditioning that your body requires has not happened with this Indian team. And that's what is the difference between India and Australia. That's one of the reasons why we have seen so many injuries. I have not seen so many. Rajul, what was the situation like in Australia? Did you all have access to parks and stuff?
Yes, so if we talk about the players, their bio bubble is very different to what people had to follow in Victoria in South Australia. Every state was different. In terms of players, as you know, the first 14 days, their hard quarantine period, they were only allowed to leave their hotel and go to the sports complex where they were training. And it was only, I think, 2 to 2.5 hours of time during the day when they were doing net practice or running around the park. Once they came out of that hard bubble, the hard lockdown, they were into that bio bubble scenario
No, no,
where
no,
they had
no. What
access
I'm
to
asking,
free.
no, no. What I'm asking is, last
Mhm.
year, say between April, May, June, July, August, September, Australia had it reasonably under control. Did you all have
Yep.
access to your parks? Could you all go out for walks and stuff?
Yes. Yes, in South Australia, in Queensland, in Western Australia, things were absolutely fine. Even in New South Wales, things were relatively fine. The only state that really suffered a lot was Victoria. So around Melbourne area, that's where there was a very hard lockdown for a long period of time. Even in fact, before this series, Sheffield Shield series was going on. So Australians were already training. Their domestic circuit was on. So those players performed there, and that's where we've seen a couple of players, the young players in Australian squad. So
Good
you're
question.
absolutely right. The way Indians were in different bio bubble and around the IPL period as well. At that stage, Australians were open and playing and doing their practice here.
Okay, Rajashi, last word to you before I close the show.
Look, it's been invigorating, right, Warrior? These last 2 months of the Australian tour, and we just heading into the last week of this tour. We just hope to see the quality cricket that we have already witnessed and lessons learned from mistakes made by rotten apples on the field. We don't want that. These are important discussions that we've had, Warrior, on racism in Sydney, on this abuse at the Gabba again. But what we really want to talk about is quality cricket. But these are important issues to be raised. So we will continue to raise them from time to time. But let's just hope the focus is strictly and fully on the cricket. And we have no reasons to complain from outside the periphery of that field.
Okay, so we will get Rajul and his team back to the Gabba tomorrow morning to get the 2 wickets that we need. So Rajul, get your lungs ready. You've got to keep shouting for Siraj and the rest of the boys. And we need it there on the park tomorrow. Good batting day. So you quickly get us wickets. Quickly get us wickets with that new ball and make it count. On that note, lots of questions about the England team selection. It's not today, huh? So let's focus on the Australia series. We will come to you with the England team selection and possible inclusions. And yes, Sky, we will make a case for Sky because all of us believe that Sky needs to be there in the Indian side. Fingers crossed. On that note, thank you for watching Sports Today. Do subscribe and ring the bell. Do subscribe because this is your preferred destination for all sport. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.